And hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 7 here for the Two Back Set podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Thomas, a.k.a. Mr. Warburg. Joining me, as always, for our Week 7 show is Patrick, a.k.a. Mr. Fusion.
Greetings and salutations, football fans. How are we this week?
And speaking of, we'll start with baseball quick, because of course you had to wear the Astros gear. Gotta rub it in the Twins' face. You gotta.
7 straight seasons of ALCS.
That said, though, from what I've seen so far, not a stretch to think the Twins might be one of the top 3 teams in baseball right now.
No, I mean, seriously.
Because their pitching's been great. They actually took a game in Houston. Obviously they laid an egg on Tuesday, but last night's game was a really good game.
I think what you're missing,
and everyone else is getting swept.
Yeah, I think at this point the Twins need just a big power hitter.
Yeah, we really don't have that.
Someone that drives in those runs.
And I will say that we were also missing prime Byron Buxton, which sucks.
Yeah.
He got one at bat this whole postseason. It was like, dude, that guy's the ultimate if he could stay healthy, dude.
He was not even supposed to be in the ALDS lineup, but they gave him a grace because of an injury. Like there's a loophole where you can sub in, and he got subbed in into game 4. So, hey, whatever, man.
Yeah, it's a good game though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're a one better starting pitcher away, plus like a more, like Max Kepler really has tailed off in terms of power.
Yeah.
So somebody to replace him in the lineup, and I think the Twins are right there at the top of the AL.
They're willing to spend, man. They're spending $35 million.
It ain't the Twins it's not the Twins when I was a kid, battling the Oakland A's for the cheapest organization in the sport. No. They have stepped up to the plate. No pun actually intended.
Yeah. I think they've been trying to be strategic about what they spend. Like with Carlos Correa, it was a big name. Shortstop with World Series experience. Like that made sense. I think at this point, you guys do need to find someone that, is not guaranteed, but like this is a guy that's going to give you 100 RBIs. Like I think
we need that dude because our runs in scoring position was just that's what killed it. But that's baseball. We're here to talk football. We're here to talk Week 7 college football plus a little Week 6 recap. Got some stories to break down. We might as well stick with Fusion's teams because OU took it to the Longhorns in the Red River Rivalry.
Yeah.
And now they've got the what was the T-shirts now that say that? Hang on, let me go to college football Reddit because someone had the actual quote from the shirt. Oklahoma only fears God. Texas fears Oklahoma. That's their new NIL shirt.
Look, here's the thing. Game. Let's be quite frank about that game. I know, like, hey, it's Texas OU, meaning the winner always celebrates, right? At the top, like the peak, they celebrate, right? I get it. Reality is that at this point, Texas has a major win over Alabama, who looks like they're on the upswing, right? If both teams run the table, that Big 12 title game could be more than likely for the final playoff spot. That's probably what it's because. But here's the thing: is that, and I'm going to take a knock at OU. OU likes to shit the bed late in the season every damn year. So they could really screw Texas by losing to another team, late in the season, which is what they do best because when it counts late in the season, you can count on Oklahoma to lose, So, all things considered, very frustrating day for a fan like me, but considering 2 turnovers at the beginning in the first quarter, 3 turnovers throughout the entire game, the offense not playing like they normally have been all season. The defense definitely not playing like the way they had. It took them a few quarters to get into it. The offensive line got eaten alive by the Oklahoma defensive line. All things considered, Texas was set to win that game with seconds to go. I mean, like it was that close of a game. Let's be real.
Yeah, it was a good game. Yeah, I would imagine Texas is probably still favored in the rematch if it does come to pass.
I would say yes, but I mean, like I said, there was a lot of things, a lot of missteps on Texas's part. Now, don't get me wrong, Oklahoma's a very good team. I'm not discrediting that. I mean, they rebuilt that roster, particularly the defensive side, with transfers last year. After what happened last year, that 49-0 loss, and then having a horrible season, like they bounced back. But with that said, there's 2 factors I have to count. Like I have to expect Oklahoma's probably going to lose one, which really affects if Oklahoma.
I don't know who to though.
Oh man, that's a tough one to think about.
Looking at the schedule, I don't know who beats them. Like they already bushwhacked Iowa State.
Yep.
And Iowa State's offense is actually getting much better, and they controlled that game. And I mean, there's Kansas maybe. Didn't they already play? Did they already play?
No, they
haven't played them yet.
They play the 28th. So
okay,
so I think I think Kansas could be a sleeper. I think the other two games that you can't look past them. West Virginia doesn't look like a beater, but they don't look like a horrible team right now. They're out there. They're not
Yeah,
putting the
but you got to
screws
remember,
to.
to miss the championship game, they'd have to lose twice.
No, I'm not saying miss
At
the
least,
champion.
yeah.
No. What I'm saying is that if Oklahoma loses a game in the regular season,
Oh, you're
they
talking
will
big picture
they will
playoffs.
face
Gotcha.
they will face Texas, and if Texas wins, there's a possibility they don't get in because of that loss by Oklahoma in the regular
Yeah,
season.
yeah. It really depends on the who to and the where.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Oklahoma really has to run the table convincingly, and Texas does too. And then the winner of the Big 12 title game will be that number 4 spot. I think.
Unless my other thought is, when it comes to playoff in the Big 12, say OU runs the table and then loses in the championship game to Texas. Now you got 2 one-loss teams, assuming Texas, of course, runs the table too, and then wins in the Big 12. It looks like the Pac-12 is going to eat itself beyond unless somebody comes out undefeated.
It starts this week with Oregon and Washington. Like, this is where it subsists on itself. Like, yeah, this is a tough one, man. This really is.
Yeah, it'll be a very interesting thing because I could certainly see a world where both OU and Texas get in, depending on how other leagues play out.
Now, the only way that would happen would be, like you said, Texas beats OU in the Big 12 title game, and it's a very close game.
Exactly.
And you would have to have, but at the same time, you would have to have Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State really.
And I think it will because none of them look truly dominant.
Yeah.
Michigan's still yet to be tested against an actual good opponent. But you could tell me Penn State's going to beat Ohio State or vice versa, and I'd believe you either way.
It does help that Alabama's back up to number 11. They've looked pretty good. I mean, this has really helped Texas's, like, this loss being a close one, like, a few points within a couple seconds of winning the game. Like, this looks okay for I don't want it's Dallas. It's the Red River Rivalry. It's a Cotton Bowl. You want Texas. You want to win that game, but there is redemption, and there is a possibility of going to the playoff if you look solid after this bye week and Oklahoma stays solid. It's not the end of the world, but like you said, this is an interesting thing. While all Georgia has to do is just coast their way into the playoff at this point. I think that's what I think. I think Georgia's got it made. And could they still be a 3-time champ consecutive? Yeah, it's possible, but I would really, it would be weird to see Texas and Oklahoma in there.
It'd be weird, but it's possible.
Yeah, well, I mean, who were the two? We had 2 SEC teams several times now. Georgia and Alabama. So that would be really odd, just because they're joining the SEC.
And because unlike Michigan, Ohio State, their rivalry game is much earlier in the season.
Right, exactly. And that does help both teams that it's earlier in the season versus at the end of the year, which can really botch things. But yeah, man, over the next few weeks, we're going to have the Pac-12 really make a mess of their own, of themselves. And then, the Big 3 and the Big 10 are going to get crazy. But then you got Iowa quietly chugging along, like not scoring any points, but
and still winning games, which is the worst outcome. I would much rather they lose so we can get rid of Brian tomorrow.
But, hey, man, I mean, this weekend may be a wake-up call. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Iowa-Wisconsin game in a moment. But
am I disappointed? Yeah, but am I upset about it and heartbroken? Not really. Like, because I realistically, as soon as it went down to the end of that game, I said, "Oh shit, Texas could still have a shot at this." Because it was a final possession game for them, and given the records and then that Alabama win earlier in the season, it's like, oh yeah, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not over yet, which is good.
Not at all. So other Week 6 games, the big one we should talk about is the insane finish in the Miami Georgia Tech game.
Oh Lord.
I mean, the words coaching malpractice do not do that justice. Regardless of whether he was down or not, I know Miami's trying to deal with that with the ACC. It doesn't matter. The fact that your coach put the player in that position is... I don't want to use the word insane because, like, there's the whole connotations with, the use of that word. But it was unbelievably stupid. Middle school teams don't make that mistake.
Very poor coaching on his part. Very poor clock management to end a game. Yeah.
Like, Iowa fans, we get on Kirk for his weird timeouts and stuff. Misusing timeouts in the middle of games. But, like, nobody's ever actually gotten mad at Iowa for going into the victory formation. Right? Like, because the only other outcome is bad.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And whether it was a fumble or say a guy tore his ACL, and maybe it fucked up his entire career. Like, you're really going to risk that in a gimme situation where all you got to do is bleed clock and you win.
Yep.
And then the doubling down in the post game of like, the clock was going to recalibrate, whatever the fuck that means. Like, just utter insanity.
Yeah, they deserve to lose 8, jumping all the way down to the bottom of the top 25 because of that.
It's just
that was ridiculous.
Utter incompetence.
Interesting week, man, because also Notre Dame lost to Louisville. They went in there not prepared, and
dude, Jeff Brom magic is legit. Doesn't matter who he's coaching. Wherever team's got him has a chance against the top 25 team.
I agree. It was an interesting week, like I think Texas and OU was, but then afterwards it got weirder and weirder. And then when you sent me the clip, because I wasn't watching that Miami Georgia Tech game, but then when you sent me the clip, I was like, holy shit! I went back and watched it. I was like, this is bad.
That's going to replace the what game was that? Was it it was a 1999 game where the guy returned it 99 yards, last second to win the game.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I can't remember who was playing, but like that clip circulates all the time. Like, this is why you kneel. It's kind of like that's Miracle at the Meadowlands is the NFL one, right?
Yes.
Right? Like those clips get circulated all the time. This is the new one. It's in high def, 2023. Coach still making that mistake. It's going to circulate throughout perpetuity in NFL and college football circles until somebody else does it again.
But if Mario Cristobal just flat out says, I screwed up. I was cocky and I screwed up.
Yeah, we would stop talking about it.
We would stop talking about it. The fact that he's doubling and tripling down, it's like, dude, come on, man. There's no way you can get yourself. There's no way to save face in a situation like that. I mean, like you said, you could have gotten your player hurt, but the worst case scenario in terms of like just logistically speaking, how to lose the game, he fumbles the ball. It wasn't at the handoff too. That was the frustrating part. Like, he was about to go down. Like, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, this is really bad. When you watch that clip, and you're just like, oh god.
Yeah, just heartbreaking way to lose for the Miami guys, but also just monumentally dumb.
I'm sure those players on defense, like on the sidelines, were just pissed at their coach. Like,
yeah, because like the letdown to let him score, but it's like you just saw your coach basically put you in the worst possible position.
Yep.
And no matter how good your defensive coordinator is, no matter how good your leadership is as a player, like there's something up here where you're like, our coach almost like wants us to lose.
Yeah.
And I just can't imagine being in that situation, even subconsciously, just like dealing with that, trying to also not let the other team score to win the game.
Right.
Just so weird.
Crazy. Yeah.
Speaking of weird, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, which is me wearing Iowa gear because Iowa's offense is utterly and completely broken.
Oh.
And obviously that's not a shock. What is a shock might be this number. I don't know if you frequent the college football subreddit, which I do. Don't tell work, but I spend a lot of time at work on the college football subreddit. And guess what their yards per game is? Last in FBS, by the way. Guess what the number is?
150.
Oh no, it's in the 200s.
Oh, it's okay. 218.
249.2. I believe the next lowest in FBS, next lowest Power 5, I should say, has over 50 more yards per game, and that's the team Iowa beat in Utah State. Next lowest in FBS teams on first downs, 14.5 a game. Iowa, guess how many they get per game?
I don't know.
13. Only 13 first downs a game. So you're including, first down of the game and in the after half and after punts, only 13.
So wait, you said 249
yards per game, rushing in, total yardage.
Total offense.
Just
to put it in perspective, the top two teams in offense right now are facing each other this week, Washington and Oregon. Washington, 570 yards per game.
Over double.
More than double. Now,
and
to be fair, they have Michael Penix, who's one of the best quarterbacks in college football. But with that said, they still have no running game. But that's more than 2 times. And Iowa's in a Big Ten conference that they're going to win their division more than likely.
Yeah, it depends on this week. If they lose to Wisconsin, it's basically a 2-game lead.
Yep. Which was I picked it. Remember, I picked this game really when we first started this.
Yes,
show.
we did. I'll go back to my notes here in a minute. But
right.
yeah, it's just, and yet they're 5-1, and they haven't even scored like on defense that much this year. You know,
which was the case last year.
They haven't got that many turnovers.
Didn't you tell me they were on pace? Isn't it was it like 8 points per game or 9 points per game?
There was a stretch there where they were over a touchdown a game.
Over a touchdown a game.
It was crazy. It was nuts. And I mean, they're getting better. You know, like they're finally getting to the quarterback. They're finally forcing more turnovers because it feels like the defensive line's finally figuring some things out. Because they had some guys who hadn't played their position a ton, gotten that many snaps, especially since Noah Shannon's been suspended. But yeah, I just don't see how this holds up against Wisconsin because the over/under right now is 34.
Yeah.
Which would close as one of the lowest unders in betting history of college football. Or lowest over/unders, like the point total. Because I want to say last year, it depends on the books. Iowa had a few last year in the 33, like 33.5. Iowa, Minnesota, I remember, set the record for a few books at 33.5, I think. And it's probably going to go lower because the weather is not looking good for Iowa, Wisconsin. And we'll start our pick'em conversation here. But it's going to be like 28-mile-an-hour winds, rainy rainy of the day of and the 2 days before. So the field is going to be soaked.
Well, it helps both schools that they both have number one running backs, like top tier running backs.
And Caleb Johnson.
And
that dude looks like the dude against Purdue.
Yeah, he looked like a workhorse last week, and he's going to have a good season next. He's going to be in Heisman talks next year. I believe he will.
Are you talking Johnson?
Yeah.
No way. Yeah. Not with our offense.
No. I mean, I have a feeling that there's going to be some changes. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to go ahead and clip this.
I have a feeling that there are going to be some changes at Iowa going into next season. And that means that there's going to be some NIL money spent on offense. That's what I think.
Okay.
You could go ahead.
I will clip this and go back to it.
Write it. Take a picture. Write it down.
Okay, you heard it here first, folks. We're midway through 2023 season. Fusion's like, hey, 2024, Caleb Johnson for Heisman.
Well, I don't. No. I did not say he's going to win. I said he's going to be in Heisman talks.
I mean, don't get me wrong. He is one of the most talented backs we've ever had. And I'm talking like Sean Green level talks, like Doak Walker or just Doak Walker?
Doak Walker.
Doak Walker, yeah. Like those kind of, he's that talented. He just has no offensive line.
He's facing they're facing a guy that is very similar. That's had 2 really good years in Braylon Allen coming in, and I think that he should be at Heisman talk, but because of the fact that they're
and he's a little banged up.
Yeah, he is.
They have their running back by committee is running back by like potential All-American committee. Like they've got some great backs.
Yeah, well, that's Wisconsin for you. But I have a feeling that Caleb Johnson's going to turn some heads next year. I really do, just because there's a lot of like Braylon Allen. I think he's going to the NFL. I don't see him coming back next year.
I don't see why he would.
He's only 19 and he's in year 3. That's crazy to think about.
Yeah, he came in young. He's had a great career. If I'm him, go get paid.
Yep. I think there's a lot of offensive talent coming out into the draft this year, and I think it's going to open a pathway for Caleb Johnson to kind of turn some heads next year. But I have a feeling that Iowa's going to change a few things in terms of offense. They have to, particularly with USC and UCLA.
I mean, we said that last year, and
that's true. That's very true. But you're going to have a new AD who's going to have to put her stamp on things.
Yes,
if things go the way we think.
And I certainly hope she does. She's already made major changes with NIL. Already talked about Carver and changing a lot of how they structure game days, like with where the students sit, what kind of facilities they need to like perks and things. Like, hey, do we need more ice cream stands? Because that's a whole thing with Carver cones. That's a whole it's a whole thing, and it's legitimately good soft serve. And it's a great kind of, college basketball tradition. It's great. I think Rupp does this too, Rupp Arena. Because I remember Jay Billis always gets the Rupp Arena cone when he's doing a call there. And, she's already, taking big swings in terms of, actually forward thinking with the athletic departments. There's not it's a more than likely outcome that she's going to become the AD. and then also fire Brian.
Yep.
Which will be a great day in Iowa City.
It doesn't hurt for her that if she does come in, she's got one of the top female college basketball players to market out there.
And coaches, to make some
money. And coaches, yes. I mean, I think now is the time for her to kind of say, okay, we're going to have to make some changes. And, as much as it would hurt you guys as longtime fans, but to put the screws to Kurt Friends to do something that, to make a change, or he's got to go, what does it hurt? How does it hurt her legacy? She's barely coming in, So
yeah,
and I think fans that are quietly like,
he's pissed off enough of the boosters where you're like, okay,
yeah, okay, if you did it, like I'm gonna kind of feign being upset about it, but okay, all right, let's see let's do this. Let's make a few changes. And hey, man, I think that could put you guys in a different spotlight, particularly because you guys have been in the Big Ten for quite a while now, and have a reputation of being stalwarts in the conference. Michigan can't say that because there were some down years for quite a while until Harbaugh got his shit together. So Ohio State will always be Ohio State. Penn State's had some bad years, particularly under James Franklin recently. So I think Iowa's just been Iowa this whole time. And I think there's an opportunity. There is an opportunity for you guys. So am I trying to give you a little false sense of hope? Maybe.
Honestly, even if they just be like, hey, can someone, George Kittle, can you just steal San Francisco's playbook? Can you just photocopy it for us? That's all they need. Because we still run a pro system. It's just a bad pro system. Pro systems can absolutely work in the college level.
Yeah.
Clearly they can. You just need to actually recruit a good quarterback and also have a good route system. Like the Purdue game, they were like, yeah, there's 3 guys running routes and they're all within 10 yards of each other. No wonder nobody's open. It's like, thank you. It's the play action, the bootlegs, the zone blocking. It can work. Your system needs to actually not suck. And that's not the case right now. So as long as we can just get to a system that doesn't suck and get a decent quarterback and or a healthy Cade McNamara next year, cross your fingers just for his own career. I hope he comes back healthy and doesn't re-aggravate something. Coming off a couple of knee issues and now in the quad, tore muscle and all that. Like, I hope he comes back healthy. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting offseason. But before we get to the offseason.
Okay, go ahead.
We got to talk about this week, which is the Iowa Hawkeyes going to Wisconsin, the Hakai people going to the Badgers. You remember that video from back, what was that, 2010? That old YouTube video? It's, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's this guy doing this like mockumentary about Iowa and Wisconsin as like individual like native tribes coming to battle in the plains of the Midwest. It is one of the funniest things you will watch when it comes to like Big Ten football. It is genius, and it is yearly watching for me. And I might even link it in the description below, either both off the 2Back Set channel or my personal one. So look down for that below. So like I said, the over/under is 34. Wisconsin's favored 9.5. At least those are the numbers according to ESPN.
Yep.
It's a 3:00 Fox kickoff. So much the theme of my week is go with the home teams for my pick'em stuff.
Okay.
So it's no shot. I'm picking Wisconsin just because Iowa completed 6 passes last week. None of them to a wide receiver.
None of them to a wide receiver. 0 catches by a wideout in that game. That's just crazy.
I just don't see Wisconsin losing this game. I know the weather's going to suck. If they try to throw, that puts more pressure on their offense and their quarterback, who's been I don't want to say turnover prone, but definitely thrown up balls where you got to wonder, Cooper DeJean's like, oh yes, please throw that my way. Because that dude is that dude. And you wonder, can Iowa's defense keep him in it? And I think they can. I just don't think they're going to have enough to actually punch in touchdowns, which you have to do against Wisconsin. Because they are going to run on you and score rushing touchdowns.
Yep.
You need to get in the end zone.
You're talking about 205 yards rushing per game by the Badgers versus 119 by the Hawkeyes. It's hard to really think about with weather conditions like that if you're not a really good running back by committee program, which we both have said that is Wisconsin right now. Yeah, all Tanner Mordecai has to do at this point is just manage the game. That's really not screw it up and hand the ball off to Allen and those guys.
Which is easier said than done against Iowa, but it's on the table.
It's on the table, and you're in Madison. That's the big thing. You have that Madison crowd. weather's going to be bad, but they're going to be, they're diehards out there, even with the sleet. I've watched games with snow and sleet, and they out there
they
in
feel it all the
droves.
time.
Yep. So I'm picking Wisconsin. Yeah.
All right, so we got 4 other games on our pick'em
Yep.
schedule this week. We've got Oregon at Washington. We've got Missouri going to Kentucky, USC versus Notre Dame, and UCLA taking on Oregon State. Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the big one, Washington, Oregon.
All right, we're starting Oregon, Washington. What's your take?
Obviously, like I said earlier, the top 2 offensive teams in the country, Washington being number 1, Oregon number 2. But when you look at this, Oregon has a much better defense. I think they're ranked like top 10 nationally versus in the mid 20s, I think, for Washington. But when I stack them together, I look at Bo Nix, who's a damn good quarterback, but Michael Penix he's on a warpath to prove that he is the Heisman winner, right? He's doing whatever he can to prove that. Then I stack up off the running game. Oregon's a bit more balanced than Washington, for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. But Washington's managed to get the ball out there. They're just not getting the large chunks because they're relying on Penix's arm. When I stack these up together, to me, I think about, okay, Oregon's defense is better. Their downs, Oregon's better. They have a quality offense and defense. Why wouldn't I pick Oregon? And my gut tells me Washington's going to come out here and prove something on Saturday, and I'm picking the Huskies to win. Yeah. Now I know, if they're at home, so you say, okay, home team advantage, but a lot of people the money line is Oregon's going to fucking run away with this shit, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Fair
How about
you? I'm torn because I have to metagame this a little bit because I want to catch you in the standings.
I know.
So do I start picking against you on purpose? Or do I not? Just to give everyone a heads up on our leaderboard situation, Fusion is currently in the lead. Slim though it is. He's got 22 points right now. Eddie has picked 21. I have picked 19. Chris and Shadow both have 18. And Les, who doesn't play every week, she's at 10. Her percentage is actually pretty good in terms of picking winners. She had a couple 4-1 weeks. So, I got 3 points to catch up by season's end. Obviously, between either of us, if either of us win, Eddie's going to get the wood burning.
Right.
But I gotta wonder: do I start picking against you? This is intriguing.
Or do you try to hold on as long as you can,
and then last week flip everything?
And flip everything because you don't want to lose ground. That's the other thing.
That is the other thing. But to your point, I mean, Oregon's defense is legit.
I mean, they're top 5 in the country.
They certainly proved that against Colorado.
Yep.
They can shut down elite offenses.
Yeah, they made Colorado.
But Washington's offensive line is significantly better than Colorado's.
That's very true.
That's an actual Power 5 offensive line.
And this is a big test for Oregon because they have 3 receivers deep in terms of top tier receivers for the Huskies. All 3 of their top guys are elite receivers.
Yeah, this Washington team, when you watch them, you're like, oh damn, it's like I'm watching prime Ohio State.
Actually, you know who I think of in the NFL that I'm very reminded of? The old run and shoot Atlanta Falcons when I watch them play.
I could see that.
The old Bert Emanuel, Duncan Hill, those guys, Andre Rison, that's what it reminds me of. The way they spread the ball around with these guys, it's oh shit.
I think I'm going to stick with my home team pick for now. Okay. I may flip it. Okay. I might coin toss this right before kickoff.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to go with Washington. ESPN has them favored by 3. We already talked Iowa, Wisconsin. I assume you're also picking Wisconsin.
Obviously, yeah.
Okay. Now we have Missouri going to Kentucky. Missouri, borderline top 25. Kentucky barely in the top 25 after getting shellacked by Georgia. I thought that would be a decent game. It was not. Nope. Georgia finally was like, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Last I checked, we're the number 1 team in the country, motherfuckers. It just took it to Kentucky.
Well, it started off looking like, okay, maybe Kentucky's going to hang. But then, like you said, they're like, whoa.
Wait a minute.
We're Georgia.
Yeah, who's blowing smoke our way? You don't want this. So who are you going? Home team or are you going Missouri?
I think Missouri has a chip on their shoulder this week, man. I'm taking the Tigers.
Okay,
Mizzou here.
This is where we differ. This is where I might be able to make up some ground. I'm going Kentucky. I think Stoops is a heck of a coach coming off a loss at home, rebound game. kind of proves you belong in that top 25 spot. I think he's going to have him ready to go.
Yep.
And I think Missouri is nowhere near as good a team as Georgia. So
no,
this should be a really good game. This one's should be one of the more fun to watch games.
I was torn between picking the home team, like you said, it's a Stoops boy with something to prove after coming off a major
Talk about
loss.
A whiplash for Missouri, going from that crazy LSU game to we're basically playing Iowa of the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Like, damn, talk about a whiplash.
I have a feeling Mizzou's going to come out with a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to catch an ailing Kentucky. I think that's I think this is one of those
another stat to throw your way. Did you know Kentucky is the lowest plays per game in FBS?
No, I did not know.
By a full play, even over Iowa.
Wow.
54.2 plays a game. Like, they slow it down. And Missouri can certainly play fast. We saw that against LSU. What wins? Slow over speed. With the clock rules as they are now, I want to say Kentucky has the edge there.
Okay.
That's why I'm leaning them that way.
Okay.
All right, so now we're moving on to USC Notre Dame. The old rivalry. Golden Domes versus the Trojans. I'll start this one. I'm taking Notre Dame. They're coming off that loss. They actually have already lost twice now, so their playoff hopes are done.
Yep.
I think Freeman, this is where to me, this is where Freeman really proves what kind of coach he is at Notre Dame. Can you get this team who thought playoffs, can you get them to show up against USC? And not just show up, can you show up and beat them? Because they don't have a defense. Can you get your team to go and just absolutely take them to the woodshed? Because I think they could with this defense. If anyone's going to expose USC so far on their schedule, it's Notre Dame. Can Freeman get him to do that? Can he get him that emotionally ready for this game? And if he can, Freeman's that dude at Notre Dame, even without the playoffs. So I'm going with Notre Dame.
Okay. When I was watching that Colorado game a few weeks ago, all I kept hearing was USC has immense talent on the defensive side of the football. No one said they cannot. They haven't put it together yet. They just keep saying it's a very talented and very athletic team on the defensive side. Haven't really seen that. With that said, I think that we're finally going to see something, and I'm taking the Trojans.
Oh, we've got another differ for you and me. Okay.
So I think this could be the week where you could gain ground, man. This could be it, because I think at this point, Caleb Williams and that offense really knows that if they're going to if he's going to be a repeat Heisman winner, if they're going to push their way into the top 10 and start making waves about getting into the playoff, this is where they have to start, right here. And I think that they're going to come out and catch. I'm not going to say catch Notre Dame by surprise. That's not fair, because Notre Dame has a bunch of very well coached elder statesmen on both sides of the football. But I think that Notre Dame has suffered. That Louisville loss was really embarrassing, man.
Yeah.
It exposed a lot of holes on that team. And remember, we talked about this in week 1, is Notre Dame a pretender or are they legit? And that Louisville game had me feeling like they were.
Again, I want to say, Jeff Brom coached that Louisville team. Purdue, look at the number of times Purdue ankle bit someone into the dirt. Yeah. That wasn't just the Purdue pluckiness. That was Jeff Brom knows how to scheme unlike any coach I've ever watched. He absolutely systematically destroyed Phil Parker's defense for half a decade. No other coach in the entire country Iowa has played has been able to destroy Iowa's defense twice, let alone 5 fucking times.
I feel bad for
he's
Purdue, man.
Such an incredible coach.
Losing Brahms is just a tough.
What a blow!
It was hard for
and you could
Purdue,
tell,
man.
the last couple, this last year, they didn't have that magic, and Louisville does, and Notre Dame got introduced to. Yeah, Jeff Brom is that kind of coach. He is the ultimate underdog coach.
With that said, I think that was a loss that turned some eyes over to Notre Dame to say, okay, like these guys are, because here's the tough thing, they play a very tough schedule.
Yeah.
This is if you go and look at that schedule, you're like, holy shit, and they're at 2 losses now. I think they're going to get number 3 against USC this Saturday.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I do want to also one point. This is to thump the chest about Iowa. I heard a lot about USC is this incredible 5-star athletically talented team, and then Iowa took them to the woodshed in the Holiday Bowl. You know, like sometimes those corn-fed Midwest boys know how to punch. And it wouldn't shock me if they run roughshod, and I mean run, just the ball constantly and relentlessly against USC, because I don't think USC can stop it. Their defensive line just looks bad. Like I don't think they can stop a power, like a traditional, like what Notre Dame runs, that pro running style offense. I don't think they can stop it. And if they do, Sam Hartman's a pretty damn good quarterback.
Yes, he is.
So I just don't see how their defense holds up. But that's my take. And clearly you're seeing it more like this is their prove it game.
Yep.
I'm going at it from the other side. This is their exposed nationally stage.
Okay. And Notre Dame comes out and puts the screws to USC. I'm not saying I'm going to be shocked. I just have this feeling like, okay, this is a situation that lines up to where Notre Dame's hurting coming into this game. They're puttering in, and USC is going to seize an opportunity. That's how I see it.
Fair enough. Well, see, that's why we talk football, is because we're not all going to have the same takes all the time.
Nope.
We have one more game to talk about, and that is a more underrated game because in terms of it probably doesn't look like either of them are going to be competing for the playoff spot, but still should be very good teams, and already are. We're going UCLA at Oregon State. One of the first to leave the Pac-12 and one of the last two remaining. That's a 7 p.m. kick on Fox. Oregon State currently favored 3.5 as the home team. What's your stance on the Bruins coming in, or is Oregon State going to hold the line?
Oregon State's going to hold it down in Corvallis, only because I think that when I look at both of these teams, DJ is a much more seasoned quarterback. Where I forget his name, the freshman, Dante Moore, is it Dana Moore? Dante Moore. He's starting to show that he's starting to get a lot more comfortable with that offense. But when I look at the defensive side, I feel like Oregon State's much faster and much more athletic on the defensive side of the football, and I think that gives the Beavers an edge here.
I think between Washington State, and obviously they've already lost some, but
sure.
I think there's an edge to these teams that are like, hey, you left us, all right?
Yep.
And like we got something to prove.
Yeah, both teams are playing with a chip on their shoulder. They really are, because like everyone's talking about the slew of how good the Big 12 is. The Pac-12 is, but they're talking USC, they're talking Oregon, they're talking Washington. Hell, they're talking Colorado and UCLA and Utah before they're talking about Washington State and Oregon State.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're getting left behind in the conversation for this season while they're showing like that game against Washington State. It was a banger until the very end, 38-35, a 3-point loss. Like it's not like they were blown away by Washington State.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, like, and they go a week later and they slap Utah around.
Yeah.
So I think people are disrespecting this Oregon State team, and I think this UCLA game is a good opportunity for them to show, what, screw all of you. Like, we want to be in the playoff picture. This game, not going to get them there. The final two games against Washington and Oregon, that's going to turn heads. And then, winning the Pac-12. That's really what it'll boil down to now. If Oregon State runs the table, you have to put them in the conversation because they're going to have to face a Husky.
Dude, can you imagine Oregon State making the playoff in the last year of the Pac-12? That would be incredible television.
When we don't know their future going into next season.
Yeah,
like we don't know what's going to happen to them.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be so
with
much
all
fun.
with all the money spent with all these major, these other high profile programs in the Pac-12, for Oregon State to kind of like, what I liken it to, that final scene in Constantine where he's floating to heaven and he gives the finger
just slips off the devil. Yeah, just off the devil. So good.
That's really Oregon State. Like, someone needs to do that. Put Oregon State's logo on the back of Keanu's head as he's going to heaven, and he just gives a finger, and in the background you have the Pac-12.
Yeah, that would be great.
Oh man, I really like Oregon State. I do, and I think I mentioned this earlier in the season. I do like Oregon State. I had picked them to beat Washington State. I lost that one. I got that one wrong, but I didn't think they were going to beat Utah. I thought Utah was going to beat them, not like run away, but beat them, and they impressed me against Utah. And then last week, just blown The only thing is that Cal team, they gave up 40 points. And that's a big deal, man. That is a big deal, but I think that they win this week. I really do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so that takes us to our picks. So just to give you the rundown, I am picking Washington, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Notre Dame, Oregon State. Fusion is going Washington, Wisconsin. Did you say Missouri?
Missouri. I'm picking
Missouri.
Mizzou here.
You're going USC and Oregon State.
Yep.
So we'll see where we come down next week.
But you could vault me here, man.
I think catch you.
Is it catch? I'm trying to think. 1, 2, 3.
Because it's.
Oh yeah.
I'd have to make up 3.
I have to make up 3. Okay.
So we get very tight.
Yeah, it can get really tight really fast here. Yeah.
I think maybe towards season's end we should get Eddie and Chris and be like, hey, where are you guys at? Like for picks for the final week. Might have to do that.
Okay.
See if we can get everybody in the running on a show, or like have them record their picks for the final week or something, and we cut it into the show.
Are we doing a week of pick'ems for the conference titles?
I'll have to check, and it depends on the standings.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair.
So
it's possible we may be picking championship weekend.
Yeah, because there'll be enough games on the schedule for that. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I have one other topic before we close out. This is something that has been dominating my Twitter feed today.
All right.
And it's something I believe I've talked to you about before in the past, but I don't ever think on camera. This is an Iowa thing. And I know, are you a chili guy?
Yes, I am.
Imagine you're a Texas chili guy because, shocker, you're from Texas. And that, of course, for the audience, meaning basically no beans.
Right.
Which is the best way to do chili, in my opinion.
Okay.
So Iowa, this is going back, 50 years to when my parents were in school, at least in northern Iowa. Every time you'd get chili, you'd have cinnamon rolls with it.
Oh, we've talked about this before.
What is your take on chili and cinnamon rolls? I want to know.
That is a very, when you first, I think you mentioned this last year, like in Discord, and I was like, what? And you're like, no, seriously, that's a thing out here. How is that not a thing anywhere else?
Every school in northern Iowa, at least that I can recall.
Do you remember what I threw your way? Like what it is? It's in the South. It's chili and cornbread.
Yeah, that's what I've done, because it's more savory and savory. Like us, we're doing. I imagine the whole thing is savory and sweet.
That's like because you dip it in ice cream.
Yeah, because you dip it
dipping your French fries in ice cream kind of thing.
Yeah, it's that kind of taste mixture.
Man, I haven't tried it. I may have to do it. Maybe we may have to set up a bet here about.
How about this? If we do the Kansas City meetup,
okay,
we'll get chili and get find a bakery that has cinnamon rolls, and we'll do it. We'll have to do it.
It's Kansas City. I'm sure we can find some good brisket chili.
Ooh, that sounds incredible,
dude. I'm going to tell you, man. As a Texas boy, a Wagyu brisket chili will change your life.
Oh, that sounds fucking good.
I am dead serious. Like I got into the brisket chili a long time ago, but then I tried, smoked a Wagyu brisket. I'm like, let me chop it up and make some chili out of this. And I'm going to break your heart here, but I did put beans in this batch. I used pinto beans. Sometimes you do sometimes.
Okay, that's not the worst kind of bean.
It's I don't like kidney beans in my
kidney beans. Just mush.
That stuff. Yep, black beans. No, just doesn't feel right. Pinto beans are a good addition to a chili mix because they're like what an NBA referee should be. You don't see them.
Yeah,
they don't exist.
They add the substance without the.
They add substance.
They don't take away.
Yeah, and that's what a pinto bean does in a chili, guys. Now I don't always cook with pinto beans because I'm a Texas boy. Now sometimes I do like to kick it up, add some beans and maybe some bell pepper, and I gotta put a ton of onions, but sometimes some bell pepper. But usually it's just the meat, honestly.
Yeah.
That's really it. Now, let me ask you this, because I don't know how it's done with butchers in Iowa, but in Texas, most folks use ground beef, but there is chili meat as well.
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing. Like most chilies I'm going to have are going to do ground beef.
Okay.
Like seasoned ground beef. And then, but you could always do the chunks of it's like the stew chunks.
Yep.
If you just get them really tender and then put them in there.
So
it's just a different bite.
So some butchers take the ground beef and they put it in like little tiny casings, which is chili meat is what they call it.
Never done that.
It's so weird because it's really hit or miss when you go to a grocery store or a butcher. sometimes they'll have packs of chili meat, and usually they don't, but sometimes when I'm going to the grocery store and I'm like, oh, let me, if I'm doing like an online order, obviously I can't look, but if I'm in the store and it's like I see chili meat, I'm like, I'm gonna spend $50 on fucking chili meat and I'm gonna throw it in my freezer. Because I will tell you, like the chunkiness of cooking with the case chili meat, it's just a different texture altogether, and it's cool. I like it, but usually it's ground beef. But yeah, man, I'll make it a little interesting. At some point, I'm gonna have to try it with the cinnamon rolls. I will.
Fair enough.
And we're gonna have to give you a southern style recipe of cornbread so you can try that too.
That's good. That works for me. Speaking of food, what's on your either football or baseball agenda for food? Because your Astros are still playing.
Yep. So I'm going to be in Dallas for some personal stuff this weekend. I'm probably gonna do some hot dogs this weekend. Gonna go to a local. There's a couple local hot dog shops now. I'm gonna kind of spoil this for you guys, but I have my goal is probably Friday afternoon, Friday evening before all the madness kicks in with all of my business stuff on the weekend. When we get to Dallas, I'm actually going to stop on the way in to Goldie's Barbecue, which is one of the top spots in Texas. They have some of the best brisket. Now, is it the best? I think it's a little overrated in terms of like the stars people give it. It's not a 5-star restaurant. It's probably like a 4-ish, low 4s, but they've got good brisket there. And stop there and then probably enjoy some hot dogs on Saturday. What's up for you? What's on tap with you?
I'm thinking, well, number one, my local grocery store doesn't have fresh wings for the second week in a row. It's some bullshit. They've got the pre-seasoned, like, with their, like, barbecue rub. It's like, I don't want those. I'm trying to do buffalo wings here. You can't do that with a fucking barbecue rub on the wings. Just give them to me plain. That's all I want. But they don't do them on order, which is...
All I ask is if you buy a batch of these pre-flavored wings, I want to have a video of you taking a power washer to them to just...
Yeah, I have to clean them off.
Hose off that stupid barbecue seasoning.
Like, don't get me wrong. Because it's good on regular chicken.
Yeah, but they always use sweet barbecue sauce at these stores. Like,
no, this is a dry rub. They don't. It's not a sauce, which is like, I'll give them this. It's a pretty solid rub. It's from Cookies, which is they do sauce and rubs near my hometown, but this specific store does it so fucking light. It might as well not even be on the chicken, but it will ruin a buffalo sauce. Yeah, just like bullshit. Great on regular chicken though, because then I just get more of it and I just dump it on when I'm
Did you ever use that dry rub I sent you a couple Christmases ago?
Oh yeah,
that Stubbs dry rub. It's got a good kick to it.
Damn good. Yeah. Even my mom was like, okay, this is spicy, but I like it.
Yeah, because when I cook, I like to smoke it with chicken sometimes, but really country style pork ribs with that dry rub. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you haven't yet, go grab some country style pork ribs.
I will need recipes from you because I'm buying a pellet grill, not a full on smoker, because that'll wait until I have a house.
Sure.
But the pellet grill's a good middle ground because I'll keep the propane grill, do the pellet grill, and get the wood chips so it actually has some like wood smoke.
Yeah.
And then it's a good middle ground and very set it and forget it.
Yeah, we'll have to have a little conversation because there's certain types of woods used with different types of meat. Like you don't want to use mesquite with brisket ever. Cook with just straight flat oak, hickory. Sometimes don't use pecan. Pecan has a sweeter taste to it. Don't use that. What I recommend is if you're gonna get a pellet smoker like that, if you can get those pellets, get different ones. Get hickory, get mesquite, and then just get flat oak, traditional oak. Those different three because they all have a different mesquite has a much like a bitter barky taste to it. Hickory has a little bit of a sweet flavor, and then oak is just a good traditional just smoke. That way, if you have salt and pepper, it just gives you the classic hill country Texas style barbecue taste.
Yeah.
But man, it's a good start, man. Yeah, pellet grill. I don't bemoan anybody that wants to smoke with a pellet grill, except for one situation, and that's with brisket.
No, I'm not even. I don't even think I can do brisket. It doesn't agree with me.
Oh man, that is like a chunk of meat that just tears people up. It is.
Yeah.
Like it's.
So I'm thinking like give me some good pork loin and just let it go. Let it go.
You could try tri-tip with that pellet smoker. You could even do some ribs too. Honestly, some good baby back ribs, man. I'll give you a few recipes.
Heck yeah, I'm excited. Well, that's gonna do it before we go into a full-on food podcast.
Yes.
Here for week 7 for the Two Back Set Show. You can follow us individually. I am at Mr. Wartburg. Fusion is at It's Mr. Fusion. Be sure to check us out, hit the subscribe, leave a review on podcast services. I certainly appreciate it. We'll be back for week 8 next week, time dependent based on my own schedule, Fusion's Astros schedule. We'll let you know when we're recording and when the episode will be live, so give us a follow. And we're at 2backset on Twitter. See ya.
Later.